Well, we did it.
We did it.
We were actually approved to come back for a second episode.
Woohoo! Woo! And not only that, but we were approved to come back for a second episode at what is apparently the end of the world 2012.
Yeah, sure it is.
The first episode of the new and possibly last year.
You know what? It's funny. I wish that we kind of did do these every week, because then we could have a special episode of just about like the best of world destruction stuff.
Oh man!
But you know they don't like us that much.
No, and otherwise they would probably do like 13 re-releases of that Cusack movie, and we just end up talking about them every week.
That's true. I could watch the Cusack movie again, but that's a whole nother story of denigration, for my opinion.
Well, I was going to say I could too, but that's really a...
Look at who we're talking to.
Yeah, it's not the best benchmark of quality opinion.
We're talking about Say Anything, right?
Yes, Say Anything.
That's the one. Well, as you can tell, we're a little rough around the edges this week, because we just got done with, New Year's Eve, or New Year's Evil, as the case may be, with Brian and Luke's big annual New Year's Eve bash, which always puts a hurting on the whole world, because there's always liquor there that no one in their right mind would drink.
No, they shouldn't.
And you end up drinking it.
And I do, all of it, and usually at once. No, that's the more surprising thing. It's not that we're coming back for a second episode, but we're still alive to record it.
Indeed. But yes, I am Cyrus.
And I am Brian.
And I am Luke. Kind of.
Luke.
Unfortunately, my voice was one of the victims of 2011. But hopefully 2012 will be a better year. And, I, for one, welcome our barefoot, proverb-spitting overlords.
Welcome to Remote Viewing, episode number 2. I guess it's technically 3, but the first one wasn't called.
Well, the first one's like episode 0, so I mean...
Exactly. Now, before we even get started, I want to say, and this wasn't available for me to say last time, because we do lots of contests during these where we've got tons of stuff to give away. We gave away a shit ton of DVDs and Blu-rays last month, and we got even more to give away this time, some really awesome shit. But part of the problem was that there was no way of directing people right to the place where they could check and see if people had actually won something or not. Mm-hmm. And now I created the remote viewing group on Spill. Where you can go to, and there's always going to be a section inside of it that shows when the new contests start, who's won what already, so you can stop emailing me a week after the entries go.
Or a week ago.
But okay, so here's the deal. Every time we start talking about one of these things for giveaway, I'm going to throw in, and it's a little different from last time, I'm going to throw in a code word. Like, let's say the code word is...
banana hammock.
Banana hammock. There you go. Okay.
It's pure coincidence that he happens to be wearing one of those.
Yes.
Wow, it's not a coincidence that my brain just wanted to shut down. Like
well, listen, it's after New Year's Evil. I can't find the rest of my clothes. There's a possibility they were burned in the yard. I'm not sure, but what I have left is the golden banana hammock.
I'm surprised you owned one.
Are you?
I'm not. Well, I was going to say, why are you surprised?
I shouldn't be anymore.
Yeah, it was a freebie from the Showgirls Blu-ray release, I think.
Hell, it was a freebie from Multiplex 6.
But anyway, whenever we come up, when I go around to giving away one of these things, I'm going to give you a code word, and then somewhere on the site, I will be writing down the name of that movie indeed, just randomly. Like, say it's a Coco, and somewhere in the comments I'll write Futurama. And when that happens, you email to me, send me a message now, don't put it on my profile wall, send me a message saying, hey, this is the movie, this is when you put it where, and this is the code word. And you win it.
And you win. It's just that easy.
I'm not like Corey. You'll get your shit. Like, in a week. Shit.
Yeah, he'll actually send it to you. It's incredible.
Corey, that's a long-standing joke. He's good about that now. But there was some shake-up early on in the contest area of Spill, where there's, I believe, a few months between winning and receiving of things. But you know what? That's water under the virtual bridge. We'll just move on with the way that we do things, which is to send you your gifts immediately. But you know what? With no further ado, let's just jump right into Remote Viewing Episode 2.
Ba-boom!
So, any feeling about where you guys want to start with this one? Because as always, we've got so much good stuff to cover that came out in this past month.
Yeah, we have a lot to cover this time around.
Yeah.
You know what? If it's cool with everybody else, I think I want to start with the Criterion release.
Okay.
Because I think we saved that for toward the end last time. I guess there's more than one Criterion release.
Well, are you talking? I bet you're talking about The Lady Vanishes.
I am talking about The Lady Vanishes. That's
you
correct.
actually went back and watched that again, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an enormous Hitchcock fan and have been since like the earliest days of my film geekdom, but I am less familiar with his early British stuff than I am his kind of Technicolor American stuff. So I did go back and revisit, and sure enough, The Lady Vanishes is just as good upon second viewing as it was the first time.
And this was, in fact, the second to last of the British films before he said, hey, they're paying a lot more in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, it was always kind of his dream to make a successful movie in Hollywood because one of his idols was, oh, God, I'm blanking, Cecil B. DeMille. So he wanted to kind of have that same success.
And those budgets to work
and those budgets to work with, exactly. So, The Lady Vanishes basically is about this woman who is about to be married. She's in a country that I'm fairly certain, now don't hold me to this because my geography of the 30s is not what it should be, but she's in a country that I'm pretty sure is made up. And she's heading to get married, and she gets on a train and meets an older British woman who she's having a conversation with. She gets into a sleeping car, and she falls asleep, and when she wakes up, the lady's gone, and no one else seems to remember this woman ever being on the train.
Yeah, they're openly saying, there was no woman there. Although... In this film, as opposed to a number of other, there's been I think 2 remakes of this, and then there's Jodie Foster's Flight Plan.
That was like Flight Plan.
Flight Plan.
Yeah, but and here you as the audience know right off the bat that she's not crazy because you hear some of these people going, yeah, I saw her, I just don't want to get involved.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about this is the way that he works in these interconnecting storylines. Because some people do have nefarious reasons for saying the woman wasn't there, and some of them are just
Americans.
Yeah,
some of them don't want to get caught as adulterers.
There's that. There's translation problems. There's like all these different things kind of coming together at once to cause this shitstorm of trying to convince this woman that she's crazy, and yet she keeps finding clues that she's not. And it's you spend about the first 20 minutes wondering how this is a Hitchcock film.
Yeah.
Because she's tooling around this...
it's one of his lighter-hearted films.
Yeah. It almost feels like a road comedy. Because she gets to this end and everything's going wrong and it's all silly and she's not even really the main focus for the first...
No, the main focus are these 2 British dudes who are more obsessed with cricket than anything else.
Yeah.
Who actually went on to be hugely successful as those characters in a series of other films, television series. Like it was weird. I didn't think they were that funny in the movie. In fact, I thought they were like, okay, we get it. You like cricket and you're tired. But English audiences thought it was fucking hysterical.
I thought some of the stuff they said we actually had to rewind and watch again because we were laughing so hard.
Charles
it was very
and Caldecott by Naunton Wayne and Basil Radford, who are like more British than Benedict Cumberbatch's name.
No one is more British than Benedict Cumberbatch.
No, I think Benedict Cumberbatch has like the most British name in history.
Yeah. But... It's got a lot of comedy in it. It's very lighthearted. It's got this great chemistry between the 2 leads. Michael Redgrave, Vanessa and Lynn Redgrave's dad, plays the romantic lead of the film, who at first doesn't get along at all with Margaret Lockwood, who's the woman in question.
Sure.
But as it goes on, he's the only one who gives her the benefit of the doubt.
Kind of because he's a dick.
He's a huge dick.
Well, she's also the only hot single girl on the train.
Which is all well and good, but like he's a dick to her in the hotel. Like there's
an important lesson to be learned from this, folks. And
he is like the initial display of negging. Yeah. Way back in the 30s.
Yeah, totally.
You're right. He totally, like, he's got some kind of dance recital going on in his room above her, and she asked the manager to get rid of him, so he walks into her room as she's sleeping and basically says, well, I'm staying with you since you got me kicked out unless you want to get me reinstated. And just lays down next to her and takes his shit out. It's like, dude, get out!
How does that work?
I don't know how you don't get shot. You could not do that shit in Texas. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know, man. People like that book The Game. Apparently that's a thing. They treat them like shit, treat them like shit, treat them like shit until they're like, all right, let me see your dick.
Well, that's kind of how it ends up somehow.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
I don't approve, but nonetheless, it was a meet cute in Hitchcock's day in The Lady Vanishes.
Yeah.
A meet aggressively cute. But yeah, no, this is a great movie. It so holds up. In fact, as I'm watching it, and I know it's a sin to even say, wow, I'd like to see a remake of this, but I didn't want to see a remake. I wanted to remake it. You know, I was like, this is so brilliant, and I totally see how you could do a modern day version of this and make it work, and what actors would be good in it.
Right.
It's like, and you could use almost the same script.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so much of the dialogue is still, I mean, it's not like, what the fuck are they talking about? It still feels very current.
One of my favorite lines is, right before she gets on the train, the woman who everyone thinks is crazy gets a flower pot dropped on her head. And later on, when she's explaining to the dick guy what's going on, she goes, well, I was hit in the head. And he goes, you mean in infancy? And it's just like so snappy and like right on.
Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and move on to the other Criterion film we have to discuss this week, which I finally saw. I've been putting off watching all month.
Well, real quickly, that was The Lady Vanishes.
Yes, The Lady Vanishes.
Sorry. You're right. Thank you for holding me to
supposedly we're bookending these days.
Thank you for holding me to my yes.
So we've been discussing the Criterion release of The Lady Vanishes, which we all really enjoyed, and now we are moving on
to Tokyo Drifter.
Tokyo Drifter.
An excellent film.
Now, Tokyo Drifter is an oddity in a lot of ways. It's still, I mean, it wasn't even like one of those films you could say was like widely copied, because it wasn't considered to be really that influential till years later. Mm-hmm. But it came at the tail end of the beginning of the Japanese movement for Yakuza films, right? Mm-hmm. And so they had paid this director in question,
Seijun Suzuki,
a lot of money to make another pot boiler, basically.
Right.
And he turned around and made this crazy Technicolor, almost satire of 60s, like, Bond and Flynn movies, mixed with, like, parodies of musicals and westerns, but all done totally straight-faced.
Right.
Yeah, it's really wild to watch, and it leads up with, obviously we don't want to spoil anything, but it leads up to a finale that is kind of mind-blowing, but really, really beautiful and well shot and just kind of amazing to watch.
Yeah, I would say that even if you're not really that into the story, which is admittedly kind of hard to follow at points.
Sure.
But if you're not into it, just watch the damn film. Mm-hmm. Its cinematography and the mise en scene, which basically means like the sets and the costume design and the lighting and all that, is so startling.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes you back like, wow, I've never seen anybody do anything like that before.
This came from a studio, a movement. Yeah, I mean, they're more than a studio, really. I would consider them a movement in Japan in the 60s, which was Nikatsu, which was a studio that was producing a lot of these gangster movies. And basically their goal was to be more like an American studio where they churned out blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster. And that is why you get movies like Tokyo Drifter that do have definite influences from westerns and from musicals, and then they were also influenced a lot by French New Wave, so there's a lot of kind of moodiness and weird emotional resonance. Like there's a lot of
definite Melville vibe in a lot of the Nikatsu stuff.
Exactly, yeah. It's kind of a pastiche of like different film styles that were popular at the time that they were kind of making their own and creating these very weird little pictures. I would also highly recommend Seijun Suzuki did a movie called Branded to Kill, which is also, it's not a Blu-ray release from Criterion yet, but starring...
Well, I'm sure it's got to be on their list because I believe they were right next to each other on DVD spine numbers, or fairly close.
And it was the same director. It stars a guy named Joe Shishido, who is one of the coolest cinematic motherfuckers I have ever seen.
Japanese Steve McQueen.
Yeah, he's just amazing. So
not the British film director.
Not the British film director.
Not the recent film director.
No.
Not the
old school
guy.
Steve McQueen.
Okay.
Yeah. But Tokyo Drifter is an amazing film to watch, but you're right. It is one of those things that kind of... You're taken aback by it because you don't expect it to look like this, and you don't expect it to be this weird combination of different styles, but ultimately something that's really fascinating to watch.
Do you want to real quickly say what the plot is for this? Because I'm not sure how to describe it on the whole. Something about betrayal or not betrayal. Well, yeah, about betrayal.
Yeah, he's basically, he's screwed over by his boss.
Yeah, eventually.
But he doesn't know at first that it's, like, we know as the audience what the situation is, but basically it's one of those situations where he feels like he's failed his boss, so he becomes a drifter. It's one of those things that there's a lot of honor. It's almost like a Ronin situation. It's like he's failed his boss, so now he has to wander the earth.
Well, yeah, he is the Tokyo Drifter, as he insists on singing to the audience.
Yes, he did.
There's a good amount of music.
He did actually record the song for the movie.
Well, he was a pop singer. This was, I believe, his first performance.
That's
in
correct.
fact, from what I've read, they literally had, and I don't mean that in the sense that everyone overuses the term literally. I mean literally had to poke him with a stick to get him to start acting in every scene he was
Nice.
in. Because he was like really frightened and like very taciturn.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
No, that's a great story.
And they do that a lot. Like Mako Kaji in the Scorpion female prisoner movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting outside
Female
of
prisoner 5.
Yeah, female prisoner 401 or something. She did the
3 numbers.
She did the song for that, "Flower of Carnage," which ended up in Kill Bill. So they did that a lot, where they made the stars sing the theme songs.
And I'm glad you brought up Kill Bill, because there's no question watching this film that Tarantino is a ridiculously huge fan of this film.
Definitely.
There's so much stuff from here that watching it, you're like, holy shit, this is all Kill Bill cribbed from this really hard.
Sure,
Exactly.
absolutely.
There's a huge bizarro fist fight inside a barn here that isn't really Kill Bill per se, but it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because no one actually gets hurt, but they're just bashing the shit out of each other for like 10 minutes.
Is that the Old West barroom
yeah, it's
brawl?
an Old West ballroom brawl that goes on, and it's so surreal. It doesn't
Totally.
even make sense who's fighting who.
It's like it's on another planet.
Exactly. It's suffice to say, this film's actually really fun to watch if you can just go, okay, I'm just going to let it wash over me.
Exactly.
Sure. And I mean, that's not to say that you can't kind of follow the story a little bit, because you can.
Yeah,
but
you
really,
can, yeah.
as we were saying, the film is in a big way is about the colors that are used.
Yeah.
There's a lot of symbolism there, a lot of cool stuff going on. I actually, not long ago, I was traveling overseas and got a chance to see a 35 print of this at the BFI in London, and it is gorgeous. And I actually haven't popped in the Criterion Blu-ray yet, but I have no doubt that they did a stellar job.
Well, because they always do.
Because they always do. They take their time, and they spend a good amount of time on every release making sure that it looks great. And I'm sure if we pop over...
And as colorful as it is, it
Blu-ray,
really does pop in this Criterion
yeah.
Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
But that was Tokyo Drifter
great.
from Criterion, available on Blu-ray. I want to talk about one here real quick, because it's actually, there's similar reasons for me to bring it up next, even though you guys didn't get to see it, called Moon in the Gutter. Okay, and Moon in the Gutter was it's a French film by Jean-Jacques Benet. I don't know if I'm saying his name right at all, but he was really well known for 2 films that bookended this. First, he did Diva, which was totally really insanely popular midnight cult film for a while. Very surreal, very colorful, very beautiful, if not very difficult to understand film. And then he did this, Moon in the Gutter, which just came out on Blu-ray, and then he did Betty Blue, which was almost kind of a minor commercial success, in fact. Very, very good film, very visually unforgettable. And Moon in the Gutter is it was largely forgotten because of the fact that it just goddamn doesn't make very much sense.
the French.
Yeah, well, it's so French. Holy shit. You know how people talk in abstractions when they don't need to? Like, nobody does that like the French. You're like, nobody talks that way. Is it just that you're using words that aren't translatable and the guy translating it sucks? I don't know.
It's beaucoup de français.
But anyway, so the story here follows Gerard Depardieu, who's like a dock worker. He lives in the shitty part of town. He has a beautiful girlfriend played by Victoria Abril, which, by the way, is like one of the most beautiful women who's ever lived. And he gets caught in a sort of romantic decision to stay with her or go with the woman who's actually more beautiful than her, Natasha Kinski, at the time, who's a rich girl who seems kind of crazy, and she and her brother are hanging out slumming it in the poor section of town.
Huh.
And this whole time, Gerard Depardieu's character is obsessed with finding the man who, the unknown guy who, as we see in the very beginning of this film, chased and raped his sister, his beautiful sister, in like this slum area, and then she cut her own throat with her right afterwards with her brother's razor. And it's one of the most, I mean, it's like Dario Argento, Suspiria era on taking too much LSD one night. It's just absolutely glowing and beautiful, and its colors will just, you're like, wow, what the fuck is this movie? I didn't know this was a horror movie, because it seems like it's that era type of giallo, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, then it goes on to be this weird romantic drama. I don't know what to tell you. I'm really not sure what happened in the story. I mean, there's a lot of him going back and forth and wondering about the nature of life, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's French.
It's fucking French.
Yeah, it's fucking French.
But every time I started to get a little tired with it, it would do something so visually creative and astonishing. I would just perk right up and go, my God, this guy's sense of like the cinematography and his sense of like balancing the scene are just, I mean, they're jaw-dropping, quite frankly. There's so many beautiful things in here, that it's almost a shame that I have a hard time really recommending it to people.
And it's weird that Nastassja Kinski turned out to be so beautiful, considering her father is one of cinema's most successful lizard men, Klaus Kinski.
Yeah, he's a little on the crazy side too.
He's so bizarre looking. It's just like, how did you come from that? I don't understand.
I don't know who her mother was, but she had to have been like
a knockout.
Yeah, she was like condensed hotness or something. Both her parents were certainly hot. It's the only way this could have worked out genetically. Anyway, that was just a brief thing about this thing. It's available now on Blu-ray. Like I said, if you're a person who's really into visually oriented films, it is definitely worth a look. Oh yeah, I forgot. It's got a very, very young Dominique Pignon in it.
Oh, nice.
You'll remember from Delicatessen and City of Lost Children and Amelie, who... I mean, he can't be any older than 17 or 18 in this. And I was like, oh my God, that is him. One of those things. You're like, wow, he was actually kind of good looking when he was younger, as opposed to like when we're used to seeing him when he looks like a genetic cross between a frog and a man.
French, yes.
I don't even mean that in a French way. I mean literally a frog.
A literal frog. So that's Moon in the Gutter.
Yeah, Moon in the Gutter, available on Blu-ray. So anyway, do you have any suggestions where we go next on that?
Oh my goodness.
There's so many things to choose from.
I tell you what, yeah, I do have a suggestion. Based on you saying something you said about this movie, I think the next one we should talk about is Margin Call.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that was a 2011 release.
Yes, Margin Call. So, Margin Call is... Luke, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
Margin Call, ostensibly, I think, is about the subprime mortgage bubble and, the end of humanity as we know it. Which I say this because I'm sure reading about the film will explain more than the plot does.
Yeah, when you said that you were watching that last movie and you watched it but you still didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
They obfuscate the details for the first, and no, I would say even throughout the whole movie.
Through the whole fucking film.
They play their cards so close to the vest that you have no idea. Like, it's about a finance company. Yeah. And they've discovered something troubling. But they don't explain to the audience.
Manny, the thing about Margin Call is that I really liked it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it's about other than vague platitudes.
Well,
but
you know what it's about. You just don't know what the financial crisis was.
Other than what I've heard. Like I'm really drawing a lot on what I had heard about the film before because really... And I like what they do. I really do. They kind of throw you into this story, when it's on a day when this firm fires a bunch of people. One of the people they fire is a guy played by Stanley Tucci named Eric Dale. And as he's on his way out, his boss is Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany's boss is Kevin Spacey. This all kind of plays out. That is an amazing cast. But one of Stanley Tucci's guys, one of his young guys is Zachary, played by Zachary Quinto. And on his way out, he hands him this USB drive, and he's like, I've been working on this. I know it's something big, but I haven't figured it out yet. Be careful. And those are like the last words as the elevator slides shut, and you're just kind of chilled. You're like, shit. So it throws you into this story as Zachary Quinto takes this, decides to stay late that night, and finds out that, something.
Let me describe to you every scene. The minute Zachary Quinto makes the discovery of what this is, which he discovers looking at his computer screen that we don't get to see, and from that point, this is every scene. Are these numbers correct? Yeah, these numbers are correct. Do you know what the fuck this means? Yes, I know what the fuck this means. Are we sure these numbers are correct? Get the chairman in here. And meanwhile, we're like, we don't know what the numbers mean.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Now, this is based on, not directly, like not with the actual people, but the situation that happened in real life with the Lehman Brothers, the investment bank. Now, everyone knows about the scandals that were going on and everything. Can you explain to me what happened there?
With the Lehman Brothers? No.
Yeah, me neither. Okay. And I think that's what they were. I think that's exactly what they figured when they were making this movie. They're like, look, everyone knows that there was some scandal and corruption.
True, and I can tell you a little bit. Yeah, it basically comes down to they're commodities brokers, so they're brokering debt essentially, and part of what they were selling to people was a package. They had started packaging these mortgages, these subprime mortgages, in with other debt from different places and making like a little bundle that people would buy. And I think what happened was that because banks were okaying these subprime mortgages, they weren't worth anything anymore because there was no money behind them. People weren't putting down payments, and they were paying far less than what they should have been. And as a result, it looks like an asset on the books because it's a pile of debt that should mature into, over 30 years, $100,000 or whatever,
sure,
$200,000. But there's no money behind it, and because there was no money behind it, like the buying and selling were not. You were getting to the point where your losses were bigger than your gains.
Right.
It's all in like pretend money.
Well, that's the thing. It's like when you start dealing with money on these type of numbers and with loaning and that sort of thing, then you're dealing, right from the get-go, from dealing with math equations.
It's like Canadian
economic
money. It's
equations.
not real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so what that basically boils down to is that margin call is the most pseudo-interesting economics chart that you will ever watch for 107 minutes.
And it is, because it's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah,
I loved it. I really did.
I did too.
And the one thing I would say is that I'm all for it being difficult to understand, and I get that, but there's a point, and you're like an hour in already, where Jeremy Irons has come in and he is like the head of the company and shit has hit the fan.
Whenever in a movie Jeremy Irons enters,
shit has hit the fan because Jeremy Irons is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Saw someone talk to me.
Jeremy
Tell me
Irons
what the fuck is going on.
very calm, very like, don't fucking fuck with me or I will kill you, And Jeremy Irons is like, no one else talk. Zachary Quinto, explain this to me like I'm a child.
Yeah.
And he explains it to him in words that we don't understand.
Well, he goes so far as to say, explain it to me like I'm a golden retriever. And then Quinto gets up and goes, okay. And then still throws out like economics 305 terms. And I'm just like,
so like, I
great,
feel like
thanks.
that was their big chance. Because it's got to be, there's got to be a way to simplify it for
what this needed was that slideshow that they got to see in the beginning of Jurassic Park, basically.
Yeah, totally.
They need to take the characters and the little
and
ride.
they had that opportunity, script-wise, to do it there. They didn't do it. That's still a really interesting film. I'd almost still recommend it.
It is an interesting film, but that's what pisses me off. It's like, not only do they not want to dumb it down, and that's fine, but they literally like flirt with the idea of making you be able to understand it, and then they don't. And it's like,
and the real problem with that is that you, as a result, you as an audience member have no idea what the stakes are.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You don't know, and there's clearly an ethical decision being made. Kevin Spacey is clearly struggling with some kind of ethical decision, but with no further understanding of the story, it holds no weight for you.
See, my thing is, like, I got the ethics and the moral of the story. I just didn't get the specifics of what was the problem.
See, I don't understand the ethics behind it.
But I thought that, like, this is the first time writer-director J.C. Chandor, and he got so many things right, except it felt like he didn't trust the intelligence of his own audience enough to actually spend the time explaining it to them. Because, like, hey, we're going to see a movie about Wall Street. You can expect that we care enough that we'd like to know what actually you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And that was really a fatal flaw here because, like I said, in every other way, this is a terrific little movie.
Sure. I honestly feel like this is a good film, and if they had taken the time, this sounds so weird because it's such a basic thing. If they had taken the time to explain what the fuck was happening in their film, it really would have been a great film.
Yeah.
It would have gone easily from good to great.
But instead they tapped into that rare commodities broker box office market and decided to pitch it just to them.
Well, it's funny because there is a genre of Wall Street films. Hell, last year had a bunch of them that came out.
Right, but those are really simple to and again, I don't need a movie to be stupid. Don't get me wrong. I don't need to be spoon-fed my details.
No. But you have to at least explain the details.
Yeah, like just let me in.
A little
at
bit.
least it's plausible for a guy that doesn't have an economics degree to really
make it accessible. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
But how impressive is it for a first-time feature maker to get this cast?
Oh, it's a great
Kevin
cast.
Spacey, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons, Zachary Quinto, Simon Baker, Mary McDonnell, who shows up for literally like 15 seconds at the end of the film.
Demi Moore.
And she's great. Demi Moore and Stanley Tucci.
Give me a break, man.
All fantastic.
It's amazing.
All right, so that was Margin Call, available now on Blu-ray. Let's go to something. We're still dealing with the higher end films here. Did you guys get a chance to see Point Blank?
Yes.
We did. We watched Point Blank this afternoon.
I would call Point Blank one of the best action films of this past year, and it was a action film that manages to be something you wouldn't mind watching with your more highfalutin snooty friends as well.
Because it's French.
It's French, although it just as easily could not be.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's not a lot about it that feels French. It doesn't even all the actors aren't necessarily French.
Yeah.
Like it's got Elena Anaya, I think is her name, who we saw in The Skin I Live In this year, who's one of the most beautiful fucking women working right now.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
But anyway, the story here is
First of all, we need to make it clear. This is not the Lee Marvin Point Blank.
No.
This is not the... What's the other point?
Shit, there's like 4 others.
Yeah.
It's none of those.
Yeah.
But it's brand new and it's French.
It's a brand new French movie. This was actually one of Corey's favorite movies this year. He went hog wild over it a little bit to surprise me. But this is one of those action ones where it's just constant velocity. And it follows this guy who's a male nurse or intern or something. I don't know, he works at a hospital and wears a candy striper suit.
He's like a nurse in training.
Yeah,
he just
he's
hasn't
getting
been
ready
certified.
to take his nurse's test.
He's a pre-nurse.
Yes, he's a pre-nurse.
Well, I kind of like that. There should be somewhere that should go, but I got nothing. But anyway, so he's a pre-nurse with his pregnant wife waiting at home, played by Elena, and he's in there taking care of this gangster that in the very beginning of the film we see get basically shot and presumably killed, but apparently not, because now he's in the hospital, named Hugo, and this guy Samuel is just trying to get through his goddamn day.
Yeah.
But Hugo gets on the phone to his compatriots, has them kidnap this nurse's wife, and says, look, either you help me get out of this hospital into this place because all these other guys are trying to kill me, or we're going to kill your wife.
Yeah, well, basically what happens is while Hugo is in the hospital, somebody comes in and cuts his air tube.
Yeah.
And the only reason he survives is because this male nurse guy notices it and saves his life.
Yeah, only to have that shoved back in his...
Yeah, and he pays for that because this compatriot of Hugo's kidnaps his wife and basically says, get him out of the hospital or, we'll kill your wife. So he does that.
Yeah, and it should be noted that that Hugo was brought to the hospital with no ID, so the cops are still trying to figure out who he is. They don't know he's a gangster yet. He's just a John Doe at this point.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a really cool thing as they figure out who he is and the cops are coming in. The male nurse is trying to smuggle him out at the same time.
Tension! Suspense!
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the way this thing was filmed. It was so high velocity. The only thing I could think of to compare it to was Run Lola Run, really, in the way that it just felt like, even when the soundtrack, like it had a heartbeat that was constantly going of somebody who's like out of breath.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a second in the film, even when they slow down to talk, that there's not some kind of beat going on there that's letting you know
it's driving the plot.
Holy shit, we've got to hurry this along. And,
Absolutely.
And you will. It's a short film.
Sure, it's only like 84 minutes.
Yeah.
And I am going to very respectfully, of course, disagree with you a little bit. You said it didn't really feel like a French film. I feel like there's this new niche of these like action-y French films like this. And in fact, the director, a guy named Fred Cavier, the film that he did before this was a film called Anything for Her, which is a great film, which got turned into The Next 3 Days here in America.
Oh, okay.
With Russell Crowe.
With Russell Crowe and Elizabeth Banks
Yeah.
by Paul Haggis. And they actually kind of screwed with some of his plot points, and I like Fred Cavier's version a lot better. There was a film that Warner Brothers just picked up the rights to remake that played fantastic for this year called Sleepless Night.
Yeah.
That's very similar.
Very similar.
It's a dirty cop, on the run and just keeps moving, and I feel like they're starting to be kind of a lot of these French gangster films that are they're real short but heart pounding.
What's the name of that new? It's the French cinema that's referred to as being sort of the cinema of the extreme, which is I'm blanking the name, and they don't normally count the horror films among them because there's a large argument now about that. Should we count them, or is that its totally own thing?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say this is one of those that don't feel like regular French cinema to me.
Sure,
well,
sure.
in this niche.
It is this new. It's definitely a new thing.
Well, and I think to combine what both of you are saying, I think the reason that we're seeing so many of these is because they're actively breaking away from that kind of French label. Like when you talk about a French film, you have a certain expectation, and I feel like it started with District B13, where it was like suddenly they were making like really amazing action films, breaking away from like you're not going to be bored anymore watching French films. Like,
Sure,
sorry, you're not going to be bored.
I'm fairly certain Jill Lelouch, I believe, was also in a film called Tell No One.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie. Yeah.
Which is a great little French action film, which is actually based on an American book. It's an American author by the name of Harlan Coben, who did a great book series with a guy named Myron Boliter, which I believe the first one of those is being made into an American film now. But he did several like one-off thriller books, and the French picked up on it and made a great little thriller out of it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to move us along.
Yeah, sorry. So that
was
kind of Point Blank and other French films.
No, but it's good. We go on. That's what we do here. We find connecting
So
things.
yes, if you like Point Blank, check out all those other titles that we talked about.
And you should like Point. You will like Point Blank.
Yeah, you should check out Point Blank. Absolutely.
It's super fun. It's not boring for even a second. It's it's one of the films that nobody got to see this year because it didn't play very many theaters in America, but you'll see it in 2012 at some point.
Definitely.
If not by renting it or buying it, then from the first giveaway.
Hey!
Because I've got 2 copies on DVD of Point Blank to give away to you fuckers. And I don't know, what should the code word for that be? I don't know. Fuckers?
How about frogs, since we're talking about so many French films?
Oh, man.
You insulting motherfucker.
That's a racist.
Well, yeah, but now we're going to be like seeing all the people who are perfectly willing to insult the French to get a free DVD.
Hey, there you go.
Probably including some of the people who've given us shit for insulting other races.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Even the playing field a little bit.
Everybody gets it. Don't you understand?
We're equal opportunity insulters.
Yeah, we hate everyone. As Emo Phillips, the comedian, said, why hate someone because of their race or their religion or the color of their skin when there's so many really fantastic reasons to hate everybody?
Much better reasons to hate.
Anyway, so send me a text message when you see me put the name Point Blank in the comments of some other either podcast or news post on Spill that goes up after this remote viewing does. And then send me the time that I posted it, the thing I posted it in, the name of the movie, and the code word. Don't forget the code word. What's the code word?
Frogs.
Frogs. Kill frogs. And I'll send you Point Blank or one of the 2. So we'll have 2 winners on that one. And make sure to check the remote viewing group. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. Probably because if anything else, Luke's throat clearly knows it. We're going to get some Ricola. Hey, we're back. We're going to talk about some animated shows. You got nothing, Luke?
I don't know why we're in the South.
Buzzing.
I've said before, the only accent I can do is Southern, and I try and tilt it just enough to not make it sound Southern, but it doesn't work. So.
Yeah, but you can only do it when you tell people you're doing a Scottish accent, which is the weird part.
Funny is when I get really drunk on whiskey, and I'm not like excited about something, I'm just like, hey, it's all good. I slip into like, sounding like Sam Elliott and the Big Lebowski.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eat you.
I've been living here long enough that the Yankee is pretty much just gone.
He's been beaten out of you and dragged behind a a pickup truck.
Exactly. But we're back and we're going to be talking about there's a lot of animated sets that came out this month.
Ton of animated stuff.
And you know what? I don't see any reason to stand on tradition here and let's just go to the one that I think I can say across the board was our favorite, and that is Archer.
Hell yeah.
Season 2. Now, people who listen to League of Extremely Ordinary Gentlemen will know that we're sizable fans of Archer already, like to the point of it probably seeming a little crazy.
Yeah, any bench called.
You start talking to us about it at spill.com and get that look in our eyes that says, Danger Zone! Danger Zone! But this is Archer Season 2, and they hadn't put out Season 1 before in Blu-ray, which in fact, simultaneous with this release on DVD and Blu-ray of Season 2, they have re-released Season 1 on Blu-ray.
Oh, we picked it up, definitely.
Oh, did you? Okay, fair enough. So for those people who are like, I'm sorry, I don't buy regular DVDs anymore, just only the top quality, you can now get both seasons that way. But you know what? Archer is one of those shows that kind of came out of left field for me because I was not watching the previous shows by Adam Reed, like C-Lab 2021 and stuff. I'm forgetting the other big show he did right before this. I feel terrible. I'm blanking.
Yeah, I feel like I should know.
Frisky Dingo.
No idea.
Leon kept telling me that it was great, and I was like, okay, I'll have to take your word for it. I don't have time to watch much animated shows. Mm-hmm. But spy stuff on FX. Okay, first off, FX for me is like, hey, it's playing on FX, I'll watch it.
Yeah, they really have become a powerhouse of great content.
Yeah, they're like HBO back in the day for me, where it was like, hey, if they were putting it on, then you should probably at least give it a try. It's got an 80% chance of being awesome. And right off the bat, the show it nailed it. For those few of you out there who don't know, and
we pity you.
God bless you. You're so sweet. Look how cute that little guy is out there who hasn't seen Archer yet. It's adorable.
Man, we're being really pedantic right now.
I just want to pinch his cheeks. Anyway, it's set in the International Secret Intelligence Service, or ISIS, in New York City, where egocentric spy Sterling Archer, sort of the head spy of the agency, has to deal with his relationship with the boss, his mom. Oh shit, I got the wrong list here. Sorry, hold on. His mom, played by Jessica Walter from Arrested Development, Mallory, who is the worst possible person. She's playing her character from Arrested Development.
Pretty much.
Yeah, the mom on Arrested Development. So you're like, wow, why would you want her to run a spy agency? H. John Benjamin is one of the most prolific guys working in voice acting today.
Was so good on home movies.
Who never does voices. He just does his own voice.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wow, that's like the greatest voice ever. Just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he once again is playing...
There's not a big jump from Coach McGurk to Archer.
No.
He's just doing his own voice. But he has such a theatric type voice, such a great radio type voice that I think it comes through pretty well.
Well, he's a huge egomaniac, and to some level well-deserved, because he is truly a very competent spy, but he's such a hedonist that he ends up stepping on his own feet all the time because of that.
He's one of those guys that's like... He's really good at what he does, but he gets distracted by the fact that... Well, he gets distracted by, I don't know, things like well-made turtlenecks and fine scotch and beautiful women.
He's Jason Murphy, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he has to work with Lana Kane, who's another, probably better than he is, secret agent, played by Aisha Tyler, who is one of the most astonishing women working in comedy right now. For the record.
It doesn't hurt that she's fucking gorgeous.
She looks just like her character on the show in real life. It's crazy. Like, wow, that's her.
She is a total knockout.
She has her own podcast that's very fun.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen her on... She did a stint on Friends for a while, but I mean, this girl is so beautiful, she's in a fucking Kanye video.
Yeah, that's how you know.
But yeah, it's funny. She's about my age. She's like 40 or so, and she loves single malt scotches, and she's like really into partying hard still, and she's a total geek. Oh my god.
Yeah,
she's
she really
such
is.
a geek. And she's like, why aren't we married? And the reason is because she's been married to her high school sweetheart.
I keep sending you dead animals and bloody tributes, and why aren't we married yet?
You know what? That's really sweet, though. I didn't know that. That's very sweet.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Good for her.
I mean, I still lust after her, but that's very sweet.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I'd still totally nail her. I'd be like, I feel a little bit bad about this, but, come on, you got to know.
He's going to keep sending her chunks of his hair and love letters.
You might as well put a stop to it by just, doing the deed. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, this also stars Chris Parnell, Judy Greer, Amber Nash. I mean, it's got a really good cast of extra people. And Jeffrey Tambor has been a reoccurring role on this. There's so many good people who appear on this show. And Season 2 took everything that was great about Season 1 and upped the ante. It just, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember us going, the only bad thing about this Season 2 getting ready to start is that our anticipation is so high. It can't
We were
possibly
so
live up.
afraid we were going to be let down.
Yeah, and then it just supersedes it entirely.
It roundhouse kicked our faces. It was amazing.
It totally did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say there's this running joke in Season 2 about where he loses his hearing in one ear because of a gunshot too close to his ear. And he keeps coming back to it in later episodes where he keeps putting his finger in his ear and going, "Ma, ma, ma." I'm sorry. I want to belly laugh now just thinking about it. It's just so fucking funny. And there's, believe it or not, the funniest episode that has to do with cancer ever written on television or anywhere.
It's such a weird thing to say, but yeah, it is the funniest cancer episode. It's a very special episode.
2 episodes even.
Yes, they are very, very special episodes in that you will be laughing at a terminal illness.
Yeah, well, because basically Mallory thinks she might have breast cancer, and then Archer decides that he should be checked, and turns out he has breast cancer, which, for a guy who's all male ego,
Yeah.
a little bit.
It's a little hard to swallow.
Yeah, a little hard.
Phrasing.
But I can't recommend this series more. It's beautiful looking anyway. The animation has actually taken a significant upturn in quality in Season 2. They're definitely taking the time to hey, we want to do an action scene, and then giving its own unique look.
Yeah. Well, that and the action scenes got bigger.
Yeah,
the sequences got bigger.
They did. It's funny. I want to just take a second here, and I know we don't have that much time to go on and on about stuff, but we got to watch a little bit of Season 3.
Oh, my God.
Which I don't know why they sent to me in advance of airing, because it doesn't even come out. Actually, what does it say for the first episode there, Luke?
January 19th.
January 19th is when the first episode airs, and drop everything you're doing and see the
Don't
first
DVR
episode
it. Just be home and watch it, because you will wet your pants laughing.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that there's Burt Reynolds appears in it in a guest starring role, but that's all I'm going to say. you're gonna wow. I've watched
Oh my God, Burt Reynolds!
I've watched it 3 times already, and I laugh more each time.
Yeah, I mean, now we have an episode of Archer with Burt Reynolds in it. It's as if they were like, and Brian gets a blowjob as well because we're packaging this episode just for him.
It's like they're actually like just listening to everything you say and do and going, you know what, maybe we should write the next Archer episodes more for Brian.
It really does feel like they have been listening to Killer Bees.
All right, so moving on. That's Archer. Once again, season 2 available on Blu-ray now, as is season 1.
Buy them both.
Yeah, seriously, you're not going to regret it. It's so great. But what's the next animated box set that just came out?
Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you what, the latest Family Guy, which I believe is Volume 9.
Yes, it is. Although not Season 9.
No, it's Volume 9.
First 6 episodes of Season 9?
I don't know exactly how they break them down
They're
anymore.
doing that totally retarded thing that a lot of these animated things do where they're not... like American Dad's the same way. For a while, The Simpsons was, I think, but they got back on track. Where the volume and the season are 2 completely different things. Like they're split down the middle for reasons that are totally unclear.
It just makes it difficult to know if you're a fan, to know if you have all the episodes. And
yeah,
frankly,
it's the remaining 11 episodes of season 8 that were left over from volume 8, and then the first 3 episodes of season 9.
Which I hate to say it.
Retarded.
Okay, and I hate to say it, but as divisive as Family Guy has become, and as this growing anti-Family Guy movement is spreading, like, really not a good idea to further complicate things by making it difficult for the few remaining diehard fans you have to have complete seasons of the show that they like.
Yeah. I don't...
I'm sorry, are there people around that still like this show?
Yeah, I know you're a giant Family Guy detractor, but I was a supporter of theirs for a long, long time.
I liked them when they were funny. I just feel like they've stopped being funny.
I feel like it's the same show it always has been, but that's not a good thing, really, as far as like keeping on watching. If I was a new guy coming to Family Guy, you could watch this season, you could watch a previous season. It really wouldn't matter. They'd both be probably equally funny to you. But it's like any joke. When you hear it enough times, it's going to be like, okay, I'm ready for a new joke.
Yeah.
And at this point, for me personally, I mean, I kind of feel that way with the Simpsons, too. That it's like, oh my God, I am so hyper familiar with this style of joke and this series of jokes and the same reoccurring things you keep coming back to that it's just lost its entertainment value largely.
Right. And the interesting thing about Volume 9 is I think it's a great litmus test. If you've never seen an episode of Family Guy before and you're not sure which side of the fence you're going to fall on, watch this edition, Volume 9, because there's a lot of its classic jokes, the stuff that a lot of the reference stuff that it did in the beginning to kind of earn its wings. And then there's also the weird conceptual shit that they've been doing lately. Some of it which works really well, and some of it which is just unbearably bad. And the episode I'm referring to in the latter sense is the one where Stewie and Brian get trapped in a bank vault. And there's not really a lot of jokes in it at all. It's this weird sort of airing of grievances type thing. Like, you know that sitcom plot device where people who are fighting get trapped somewhere overnight and they work everything out? It's like that, except there wasn't one specific thing they were fighting about. It was just like we're going to talk about our relationship over the years, and it's intentionally devoid of a lot of traditional Family Guy humor just to fuck with the audience. And that's something that I feel like Seth MacFarlane is doing a lot now, where he's like, oh, you think... You thought it was bad before, well, now I'm just going to fuck with you. And it's like, no, Seth, that's the wrong approach to...
Now, let me ask you, this did not include partial terms of endearment, right?
Partial terms of endearment?
Yeah, where Lois gets an abortion?
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, the last episode of the season 8 was called Partial Terms of Endearment. It did air, and there was a fuck ton of controversy about it, which seems like Seth MacFarlane would be like, good, fuck you, it's going on the set. But as near as I can tell from reading about it, it looks like it was not included.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It says right here, but it was released on DVD September 28th.
Oh, was it? Or was that the season or the episode, though?
I think
this
that maybe
episode has been refused. Yeah, because Fox didn't air it in the U.S. It only aired in the U.K. and Australia and the Netherlands, it looks like.
Fair enough. Okay.
I don't remember it being on this set. And I will admit I didn't watch every last episode. I watched the vast majority of them, like right down to the last disc. But I do not remember that episode being on there.
See, I want to see the set now and the thought that it's on there because I'm like, wow, an episode that never aired in the U.S. because it was too controversial.
Yeah, I mean, and that's possible. Like, they had that very early on. You remember that episode when you wish upon a Weinstein?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which they couldn't air because of all the Jewish jokes.
Yeah.
Which now seems so tame in comparison to the shit they've gotten away with in later seasons.
Christmas.
Or Blue Christmas. Yeah, no shit, Blue Christmas. So, yeah, but it's one of those weird things. Like, I think the best episodes on the set is the murder mystery episode, which actually I think originally incorporated several episodes because it's really long. But there's a lot of great stuff in there, not only in classic Family Guy style, but also in references to those great old murder house type mysteries.
What, Family Guy doing referencing?
I know, but
that's crazy.
It's different because it's more in what is happening and not what they cut away to.
It's always the giant chicken.
Yeah, it's always the giant. It's written by manatees, apparently.
The first 18 times I saw Peter fight the giant chicken, I thought it was hysterical.
Right.
A little over it now.
And guess what? There is a callback to that fucking joke again in this volume.
Well, that's Family Guy Volume 9, but for the record, through the magic of the internet, we can confirm that the partial terms of endearment does appear on that Volume 9 set.
Okay, shit, how did I miss that?
Okay, fair enough. I actually want to see that now just to check that out. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Let's say, and that was, once again, Family Guy Volume, not season, but Volume 9. All right, so I guess the next thing that we come to really is The Simpsons, which, it's like...
No, I'm sorry. It says excluding. I read excluding and thought it meant including.
Damn it, Luke.
It's not like flammable and inflammable. They mean different things.
That's true, but it did say it got a release, so maybe it's like a standalone release of some type.
No, I'm just happy because I'm like, how did I miss that fucking episode? So I'm glad it wasn't actually on there.
We will find the answer to that.
Apparently, we're going to have to illegally download it. Sorry, I want to buy it. Where is it? Give it to me. But you're not making this easy for me, Seth.
The opinions of remote viewing don't necessarily reflect those of remote viewing.
It's true.
Or Cyrus, Luke, or Brian.
No, it's not. I did not just say that. Monkey possessing me again.
Damn it, Monkey.
When are you going to download some more Animal Planet, damn it?
Fuck you, cat. Anyway, it's love, trust me. So The Simpsons, this is the 14th season. It's on season 25 now?
Yes, 25.
So, but they're going back and they're re-releasing them all the early ones, one at a time on Blu-ray. And people are like, what's taking so long? They're taking their time about making sure that they look fucking fantastic and adding a shit ton of extras on every single one.
Oh, and by the way, there's 25 seasons! That's what's taking so long.
Well, I mean, it's The Simpsons. It's one of the most consistently popular shows. Now, I know what you're saying. A lot of you out there are like, so bored of The Simpsons, yada, yada, yada. Well, that's because you watched it for 7 or 8 years, and like we were saying earlier, you're like, okay, I get it, move on. Simpsons, actually, I came to this point where I was like, I need to stop watching this every week, and I need to start just catching it when it happens to be on.
Yeah.
You know? And then it's fucking hysterical to me. I'm like, I love the show, but if you keep trying to... You can't overindulge in The Simpsons.
Sure.
Or this type of show. You really can't. You know, it's not a show that you sit and you marathon your way through. And this is one of the best sets to get because, all right, so around season 9 of The Simpsons, they changed showrunners, and it really started to go downhill pretty fast. That's when the famous dumbing of Homer started.
Yeah, it was really starting to lag behind.
It did, and it had a sizable period of pretty weak episodes that were getting progressively worse. And then they changed showrunners in season 13, and it started to pick up again. And season 14 was actually pretty significantly a very remarkable and very well thought of season.
There's a lot of great episodes in season 14.
And it's fun. One of the fun things about the set is that, all right, so every set's given a theme sort of to go with, and this one is Treehouse of Horror, which, let's face it, come on, we're horror fans. Love the Treehouse of Horror. The box, the menus, which are fucking great in here with Treehouse of Horror stuff. I mean, it's filled with really neat stuff like that. And this is the Treehouse, the actual episode that comes in the season is the one with the ghost of Maud Flanders. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And the one and it's got the Dr. Hibbert as Dr. Moreau episode.
Yep.
Oh man, it's a really, really good one. And if that's not enough, the extras actually come with several more older Treehouse of Horror episodes added in.
I don't care how old the show gets. I don't care how much the rest of it, even if it gets to be really terrible, I will watch Treehouse of Horror every single year because that shit always makes me laugh.
Absolutely. No, it's such great horror parody. It really is. Or sci-fi as
even
well.
Even when the Treehouse of Horror episodes are weak, it's still better than most of the animated shit on TV. This
was a hell of a season. It had a lot of really neat stuff. I mean, this had... Do you remember... I don't know if you remember. This is a long time ago now, but when Marge accidentally gets breast implants...
The breast implants? Yes.
Large Marge was the name of the episode, and like the whole town is like... Aah!
I remember I remember a musical number that went along with it that it basically ended with Homer just like... Homer going, and they're all mine... Yeah, I remember that was pretty badass.
And in fact, there was another episode that was very funny that season as well. She starts taking steroids and working out. Do you remember that? Starts becoming a neighborhood vigilante.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite episode actually of this season is it's called The Great Louse Detective.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's trying to kill Homer, so they have to get Sideshow Bob to help him out to figure out who's trying to kill him. And then by the end, Sideshow Bob helps him solve the mystery, but because he's Sideshow Bob, the cops just assume he did it, so they throw him back in jail.
Spoiler.
Oh yeah, sorry, spoiler alert.
You son of a bitch.
I figured people had seen it by now.
All right, so then it's got the How I Spent My Strummer Vacation, where Homer goes to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp with Mick Jagger,
Oh,
Keith Richards,
God, yeah.
Lenny Kravitz, Elvis Costello, Brian Setzer, and Tom Petty, all doing voices. I mean, that's pretty landmark even for The Simpsons for having guest stars. It was actually a really solid fucking season.
Mm-hmm.
And to, like I said, like to say, hey, this is worth actually owning. They gave a commentary for every single episode.
That's impressive.
Not
Holy
what
shit.
you usually do for animated stuff. At best, you'll usually see the first 10 minutes of an episode might have some commentary. But
Yeah.
the full commentary every episode, 4 of which are with Matt Groening, but the rest are as an assortment of people. And the unheard of, they bring in some of the guest stars for the commentary.
Damn.
Weird Al Yankovic is on one of them. I know.
Wow.
And Tony Hawk is on one of them. It's
Dude.
like, that's bizarre.
Really
but
impressive.
What a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know how it is lately, but I remember the older seasons of like South Park. Matt and Trey would do commentaries literally for about a minute and a half, and then just go, "Okay, we're done," and just stop talking. Like the commentary would be a minute and a half into the episode.
Oh, I forgot. This is also the season where Flanders ends up getting laid by the hot Hollywood hottie voiced by Marissa Tomei. Do you remember that?
yes.
Yeah, and he's got his whole like, oh, I don't know, but I was married.
My
before.
wife died.
And God. You know.
And God, which
You
is
know,
a great argument.
Yeah, well, it works for Flanders usually. So anyway, that's Simpsons season 14. I know as cynical as we can be about these things, this really was one of the returns to form. And like I said, for people who love Treehouse of Horror as much as I do, this is the season to pick up. It has several of the previous best ever Treehouse of Horror episodes, including this 3D CGI world one. Which is classic. Yeah. So and a lot, in fact, there's the montage of appearances by Kang and Kodos. There's all these special stuff that entirely has to do with Treehouse of Horror. So totally worth picking up. Now, what do we got next, Brian Salisbury?
The next animated show from the same creator is Futurama,
Yes.
which had its 6th volume come out. 6th volume?
It did, and once again, it's split up between seasons. And it's just, why are you doing this to us?
Damn
I blame
you!
Fox.
Well, in this case, it's not even Fox, because Futurama is now Comedy Central. They moved,
Yeah, it got moved.
Yeah,
blame
it got
Fox.
canceled. It got canceled from Fox about 2 seasons ago, and now it is running on Comedy Central. And if you ask me, it's funnier now.
Fox put out the Blu-ray.
Oh, shut up!
I win.
I think they own Comedy Central anyway.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know.
but
Maybe
I
they
agree
do.
with you. Since they moved over to Comedy Central, they have been getting better and better, and
So much funnier.
they're sharper, and they're able to make references to. It's funny when you watch Futurama, like the earlier episodes. There's technology that has improved since that show came on that has now worked its way back into the future of Futurama.
Oh yeah, it is consistently funny. Its satire is always much more topical than The Simpsons is. It seems to me like The Simpsons always seems like it's a couple years behind, and the Futurama seems to be right on top of things.
Yeah.
And more of the South Park tradition of, oh shit, they're talking about this now, we need to get on
Well,
it.
hell, one of their earliest episodes when they came to Comedy Central was about the release of the new iPhone, except that it was a phone that they literally implanted into people's eyes.
Yeah.
Which was funny.
Well, this volume 6, which like I said is actually a cross between episodes of season 5 and 6, I believe, is filled with a lot of really good stuff. But my favorite, there's all right. So I'm trying to find the actual episode, and it's hard to online because, like I said, they're all
Because they keep
listed.
splitting them.
They keep splitting them up, and it's fucking frustrating as hell. But there's an episode where they have to, it's a Moby Dick thing, and they have to deal with a
Yes.
giant space whale that travels between dimensions.
It kind of has a portal thing going on.
Yeah, and it's hysterical, and it's so clever, and it's got this really brilliant, it's episode 2 on the set, and it's got this really brilliant animation, like really neat stuff it does, playing with time and space things. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is, even for Futurama, this is pretty groundbreaking stuff, actually. Hey, it's another set from these guys that is brilliant. It's as much as I was saying I'm bored of The Simpsons, on the long term, I can actually still marathon Futurama and
Oh,
and
absolutely.
go straight through it. It still has so much yet to do that hasn't gotten a chance to do yet, and they are continually expanding this set of characters. I actually think it's about time for them to maybe add another character. It feels like shaking things up a little bit by adding someone new. This is the time to do it, but what do I know? I'm on remote viewing, not on the staff of Fox writing Futurama.
Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah, what the fuck, Fox? I keep sending you emails. Wait, did I send you the right email?
I don't know. I've been sending mine to the asylum.
You didn't
so-
send your Aisha Tyler email to Fox, did you?
I think that's what happened.
Oh.
That would actually explain a lot of the weird gift packages I've been getting from Fox lately.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah.
And why Aisha Tyler wouldn't send you the Futurama set?
Yeah, I know, right?
Seriously, you got it. Send it to us.
But you know what? Speaking of that, guess what I've got to
Giveaway!
give away?
Giveaway!
I have a copy of Futurama Volume 6 here to give away on Blu-ray. It's fucking awesome. What more do you want? Come on, go. Let's hear it, people. Let's get just a little applaud at home.
Woo!
Futurama!
Futurama!
I'm gonna fucking give you this shit. I'm gonna send it to you personally. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it as much as I did. Like I said, I couldn't put it down. I was supposed to be doing something else, and all I did was watch Futurama that day because of this fucking set that was in my house. But I will, if you want, send me an email. I'll lick it or something first if you want before I send it to you. That way you can even have my collectible DNA.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Collect the entire Spill Crew's DNA.
Are there people that want that?
No, I hope not.
Okay.
But
Jesus,
you
I haven't
never
checked the
know.
store in a while, but Jesus, I hope not.
But what should be the code word for this one, Luke?
Zoidberg.
Zoidberg. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
So, as before, you remember the rules. I hope by this point you remember the rules. And if you didn't, that means you're skipping around because someone posted the time codes. And shame on you!
Yeah.
So, follow the rules or you ain't getting shit. I believe
Play by our rules or else.
I believe that's the last of the animated ones, isn't it?
I believe so.
I think it is.
I think we're done with the animated block.
All right, let's take a real brief break, and we'll be back with something else.
Woo.
With more stuff, because, oh, man, we still got so much stuff to go through.
Hell yeah.